Do you see this fat ass right here? This is the last time Barcelona went on to the semifinals of the Champions League. Now look at me. Am I different? I don't know. But Barcelona certainly is. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here and welcome back to another video here on the channel. And Barcelona just, well, they lost the very first game of 2025. You know, Chesney lost the very first game of his career in a Barcelona shirt. But I do not care because yet we are going through to the Champions League semifinals for the very first time since 2019. This moment is special, guys. It doesn't quite feel like it, but we'll take it. Make no mistake, this wasn't the best win. This wasn't certainly the message you want to be sending to the rest of Europe. But at the end, really, do we remember the shit game that every single one of, the last Champions League winners played during their run-up to lifting the trophy? I don't think so. And we won't remember about Barcelona either. I think that what happened to Barcelona today, and certainly what happened is that, well, basically, Barcelona, I think, went to Germany to do exactly something like this. Try to not win this game. They went to perhaps not put on the best performance, the best show, and it ended up quite working to an extent, but it's quite frustrating. It's frustrating that certainly we were put against the ropes. We were almost going out. We were almost waiting for somebody to, press F and revive us because we were struggling, guys. We really, really were. There were certain mistakes that we are going to get into it later into this game. We're going to get more tactical, but I think that Flick and the entire team knew that this is always one of the ways that it could have ended. And I wouldn't take too much about it from this. We've seen Barcelona be a team that can reach peaks of very, very high level football. And at the end of the day, that's sort of what you want when you're in a competition like this. You want to be, when the day matters, you want to be at 100%. And today, overall, it mattered. Yes, it did. But it certainly won't matter as much as the next game against Inter de Milan or Bayern Munich into the semifinals. That is equally more important. That very first game in the leg is more important. So use your 100% of your energy. Do what you did against Borussia Dortmund in the first leg for the quarterfinals. Repeat that in the semifinals. I think that's a strategy that they're going for. And if you want to win the UCL, I said it, you have to sort of perform to those standards when the moment comes and arises. And Barcelona did that in the first leg. And at the end of the day, well, they sort of allow themselves to be in a position like this. That's my takeaway. Of course, it's not what we want to see. It's very frustrating. And we let Dortmund could have potentially have one of their best nights ever. But football, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I would have wanted to see a lot more. Yes, I would have. I got to give kudos to Borussia Dortmund because they played outstandingly good. They haven't kept a clean sheet in the last of any of their 8 matches. And here we come. They changed the formation up a bit and we look lost. We look absolutely lost. There was a moment in the game where Barcelona in the first half had 0.02% expected goals. Not percent. Yes, that's what the expected goal was. We were not expected to score a goal. We went into the first half not even having a chance on goal. A shot, yes, but not even a chance. Not even a proper chance. And that is frustrating when you're Barcelona, and that is certainly very worrying if you're Hansi Flick. But anyhow, let's get into Barcelona's 11. And I think there is something very interesting about what Flick decided to do here. I think he rotated. Yes, he did, of course, but not to the extent or the players that I would have hoped so. He went with Chesney as the goalkeeper position, and as we know now, he got his very first defeat of, well, the year, the campaign, his career at Barcelona. Jules Koundé, that had a very bad game alongside basically the entirety of, well, the defense except for Gerard Martin. I think Gerard Martin, the one that rotated, was the best player. Araujo, Guirassy too were there. They didn't have the best of games. Frankie de Jong and Gavi. I think Gavi ran quite a lot. I think I saw somewhere he was the player with the most distant cover. Let me see if I can find that here. Let's see. No, I cannot find that here, but I know for a fact he was the player that ran the most during that first half and in the entirety of the game. Then we have Frankie de Jong, that was someone who the very first 20 minutes was very shaky, was very, very bad. It's like he was saying, okay, hold my beer. I've been doing too good for a while. Let me give you a game you're gonna be proud about. Let me bring down my level a bit so just you can see the the real expectations you should set yourself. You should set yourself for. Lamine Yamal wasn't having his best games either. He didn't have the spark. Fermin Lopez, here they put him as a 7. I think, though, I wasn't very surprised by him. Lewandowski, I wasn't surprised by him either. And Rafinha is always going to be a player that you're never going to feel you're not playing with one less. Rafinha is always going to be a player that gives you something extra. He always going to make sure he makes himself known. But whenever he had the ball, his touches were a little bit off. You see his dribbles were not the best. He had certain instances where he was missing out on goal. He was doing weird dribbles where he just take himself apart from the goal or take weird decisions. I think he wasn't the best of days for Rafinha either. It was just a very complicated match. And I know it's very easy for people to come in here. And let's pause a bit and let's just say it's very easy for people to come in here and be having this apocalyptic, catastrophic view of the game. People just relax a bit, like the opponents also play, they also come into the occasion, and particularly the context of this game. It's a quarterfinal of the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund in their stadium. It's still hard. We came here and we got a 3-2 victory, and that was a very hard-fought victory. Not too many teams are able to pull things like that. And then, here come Barcelona, it's time again, and this is mostly kind of the script of what I was expecting the very first time we faced them. It's like, do not be too catastrophic. This is not the worst of games. It's certainly sort of a warning, a message that we cannot replicate something like this. Whoever our opponent is in the next stage, in the semifinals, I of course don't want to see that, but let's be clear, do not take it too overboard. That's just the sort of message I wanna send to you guys. In the case of Dortmund, they went on with Gregor Kobel, the goalkeeper. They were Niklas Süle, who had a very nice game against Rafinha and Lewandowski. The same with Anton. I think those two marked them very nicely because Bensebaini was mostly kind of the one that pushed a little bit forward. He would look to act like the stopper to stop Fermin Lopez, to stop Lamine Yamal kind of moving a little bit closer within the area. Pascal Gross, Svensson, and Mecha, and Jan Couto, and then Adeyemi, Maximilian Bayer, and of course the man of the moment, that is Sergio Guirassy. He has now scored, I think it is 13 goals. It's 13 goals Guirassy has scored in the Champions League for Borussia Dortmund this season. That's the most of any player in their history. That's more than Haaland. That's more than Lewandowski did in their 10-goal season. So even 11 was, quite surprising. But having 13 goals, that's quite a big margin. So good on Guirassy, actually. Good on him. But it's unfortunate that it comes at the expense of Barcelona. Tactically, if there's something that I want to mention, is that I think that the formation of the back three for Borussia Dortmund really helped out what they wanted to do here. So if I take a look at the lineup and we see what they did, I think that Barcelona normally, you know that we can have, the striker, the three in front, two holding midfielders, and then the defense. Our team normally is very narrow from top to bottom. So from Lewandowski to Chesney, normally Barcelona are very, very tight, very narrow. But the way that Borussia Dortmund set up, with these two midfielders acting like box to box and even sometimes as a playmaker pushing further forward, Bensebaini as a stopper, and just Anton and Süle, even sort of at times it looked like they played with a back two. I think it made our team squash. It made Barcelona normally from being quite a I'm gonna use a paper for this, from Barcelona being quite a team that is quite short, narrow, 30 meters like this, it make it so we are even narrower, we're even skinnier, we're even thinner. So now it's like we're playing only on 15 meters in distance, and that's hard. That makes it even harder for Barcelona to play, I think, in this game. And that's why we didn't have control of the game. I think that's why Barcelona really struggled about it. I think the setup was really difficult to bypass, particularly with the high line that Barcelona had, because Barcelona, in difference to other teams that may use a high line, they want to keep control of the ball. When you have the high line, normally your idea is, okay, I have high line, I'm going to push for the forward, I'm just going to get the ball as soon as rapidly as possible as I can to the end, to the opposition box, and I'm going to try to score, which Barcelona, yes, they do that, That's something that Hansi Flick has done immensely. But if that doesn't happen, then, you know, Barcelona way, the Barcelona philosophy, the Barcelona tiki-taka sort of then drills in, and you know what, just take a pause, you know, pass it back, relax, circulate the ball a little bit, and then look for another chance, look for another way to create more space. That doesn't come here if you only have like 15 meters to work with. So I think that's something that we gotta give kudos to Borussia Dortmund, because they looked really, really good at that. Did I make myself clear? I hope I did. Let me know in the comment box down below if I hope I did. And also, let me know in the meantime. I want to see in the comment box below. Raise your hand. Put the little emoji. Raise your hand there in the comments if at any moment were you scared that we could actually gonna lose this game. There were some moments where I was like, okay, this is getting troublesome. This is getting to like Liverpool, Roma, you know, PSG last year sort of crisis moments. I thought we were almost getting there. I never really thought we were in that scenario. I never really thought we were in that crisis moment. I never got that heart attack and that panic, but we were reaching those levels. I mean, we were reaching those levels, but that's the Champions League. You know, that's something that's going to come down with the structure of the competition. That's what's going to happen, because teams are going to give them their 100%, and you're going to expect very, very hard fought opposition in instances like this. So yeah, put your hand down below and let me know if you thought that we ever reached those crisis alert. You know, did we ever reach, you know, panic moment? Did you press the panic button? Let me know. But of course, one key area also that made Barcelona struggle quite a bit is I was gonna say the departure, not the departure, but the lack of, I think, the best midfielder in the world, 100%. Absolutely every side would love to have this player in their team. And I'm certainly talking about Mr. Pedri right here. I think that Barcelona not having Pedri in this game, particularly when Borussia Dortmund, they press so high, they attack so fast, you need someone like this that's going to give you that tempo. Somebody that's going to beat that press. And normally Frankie is very good at doing that. But, I mean, he will not slow the game down as somebody like Pedri. You know, Pedri will just take that touch, will just take that turn, will just make that pass. We'll just see the game at a different speed, and we'll be able to, you know, a game that is going on like 2 times speed, 3 times speed, he will just reduce it. He will just make it 1 time speed. He would just make it regular speed. He would just even slow it even further down, make it 0.5. That's where I think Pedri really works out, and that's where we were missing him quite a lot. I think that we clearly see that Barcelona do need somebody like Pedri in this side, and it's unfortunate we don't have somebody else like that. I don't know if that's somebody you can get on the market. I really do not think that. I think it's just the style of player that Pedri is. It's just the caliber of player that Pedri is. Okay, so this is Ayemi, Pascal Gross. And you know, when I saw the penalty, you know, because one thing is that the other team scores, you know, the one thing is that the other team scores and they level up. But the fact that it's Chesney that actually brings down Pascal Gross inside his own area, and we start becoming our own worst enemy, that's when I knew that this was going to be a long night, because that's when Barcelona just crumble. You know, we are normally our worst enemy, and I knew that we were possibly gonna have a repeat of of so many instances of before. Hopefully, thankfully, Hansi Flick has changed that mentality a bit, and we can see that that's a new way. But that penalty is just clear as day, man. Chesney, what are you bling? You know what? Oh my god, that hurt. That goal actually hurt quite a lot, because it's 10 minutes in, guys. That's 10 minutes in. Oh, yeah. This is a good one. There's a good one from Adeyemi, and Chesney saved us. Bam, that's a good save, and this one is even better. Boom. Corner para Dortmund. This guy is totally just watching this game to date the Borussia Dortmund fan. That's a given. For me! You need luck some days. Some days you just need luck to go your way, man. If Rafinha doesn't turn up, own goal can always show up. You know, that's what you need. You need luck, you need passion, and sometimes the coin will just land on the side that you want. And this time it landed on Barcelona. And that's what I like about it. You know, I'll take it. What's that from Frankie? I completely forgot about that. Oh my god. Ooh. Ay, si me acuerdo de esta. This one's bad. This one's bad. This one's bad. This one's horrible. This one's awful. Araujo. Araujo. It's getting harder to defend Araujo these days because I genuinely really do like Araujo. I genuinely do respect Araujo so much. I still put him as one of the best defenders in the world. But even as I'm saying that, I'm laughing my ass off because what is that, dude? But here, for instance, like I gotta give kudos to Guirassy here because Duranville does it incredibly well. But like even the finish is hard, you know, because you have Araujo, you have Chesney right in front of you. But he does it very, very nicely. You know, he finishes his finishing is just right on the spot. He goes like on top. It's incredible. Another question I pose, like, would you be mad to see Guirassy at Barcelona? Because from what I'm seeing, he's a very good, decent striker. He's done everything he can possibly to have the best audition against Barcelona. He scored against us already 5 goals in 2 games this season. It's not bad. And we go back home with empty belly, but sort of satisfied, if you know what I mean. You know, that's the best way I can summarize this game. I think Barcelona should be happy about it. We move into the semifinals, and we're gonna be there. Of course, we're gonna be there, reporting, commenting about this game, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care.